So today I'm going to go ahead and talk about the truth about summer cruising that people just don't want to talk about. When you cruise in the summer, there is just a lot of people. It is overwhelmingly crowded. If you want to try to avoid a lot of kids screaming and stuff like that, probably don't go ahead and cruise in the summer. Because quite honestly, that's when families mostly go cruising because a lot of schools, like here in Texas, we can't take our kids out during the school year. They are required to be in for a limited time, so we can't take our kids during the nice cheap seasons. So we have to take them during the summer. And the summer tends to also be the most expensive. So if you're looking for deals, you're not really going to get too many in the summer. It's usually right after the summer in that shoulder season before the holidays. And then, of course, in like that shoulder season between spring break and summer again. Because again, those are peak times where kids are in school and they can't really go on vacation. Also, college kids as well. So, one of the things that you'll notice in the summertime, especially if you're like an elite, you'll see that they'll start limiting the amount of priority boarding because there's going to be just so many people. But if you do have it, it is really great to have. So when you do have those priority boarding cruises, you can still utilize that. It's such a great way to go ahead and get on board, kind of acclimate yourself to the ship before all the really loud noise comes in. I know I like to do that. I like to get on the ship early. I drop off my stuff since I have priority boarding. I leave the room quickly and just bolt. And then I go in and enjoy. And a lot of times then I can go ahead and go to the Lido deck, or I can go to Guy's Burgers and get Guy's Burgers, or I can go into the MDR if the MDR is open. Sometimes the Italian place is open. It just depends on the kind of ship, whether it's Princess or Carnival of what you're on. So priority is definitely a must. The other thing I'm going to say is things to keep you cool because there's going to be long lines everywhere. And in that heat, it gets bad. And most of the cruise lines go out of places that are very hot and humid as far as leaving from the United States, unless you're going on Alaska cruise, and then it's probably pretty cool on an Alaska cruise. But I'm assuming you're doing a Mexico or a Caribbean cruise when you're watching this. So if you are going out, definitely they have those little portable fans. Oh, let me go ahead and show you what my fan looks like. Hold on. Where is that? So here are two fans that I bring. So this first fan I love. It is so great. It has 3 speeds, and then you can hear it. You could probably hear it. Woo! It's really windy. It has 3 speeds, plus it has a little hook on here. I guess if you wanted to hook it on a lanyard or one of those bags or something, you could probably do that. But it really won't blow up to you. It also works really great in where it will sit on your nightstand like this. So you don't have to bring one of those big fans unless you really wanted to. I do have a venti fan that I use in my cabin because on some of the older ships, they turn off the electric when we're in port and they only cool off certain areas. Mainly, if you're going to stay in port, head to the spa because they always keep the air conditioning on in the spa. This one. Contrary to popular belief, it is not a personal device. I mean, it is a personal device, but it's not that kind of personal device. I'm not even going to tell you the kind of looks I got when I first pulled this out of my purse. I'm just glad I didn't get the black one. That's all I'm going to say. But when you pull it out, this is also a fan. You can kind of see the little flippers here. Doesn't quite have the powerful, and I think it only has like 2 speeds, but it doesn't quite have the powerful pull of keeping me cool like this one does. This one works great. I usually get about 2 hours out of it. It's great for when I'm in line, like in Cozumel, trying to get back on the ship with everybody else. Same, but this is great. It's small, it's compact if you don't have a lot of space. The other great thing is it has a little flashlight at the tip, and it also is a USB bank. And it has USB A and USB C, so you can charge your devices too. So it's really great. Both of them are chargeable and they're pretty universal. They both use USB-C to charge. Like I said, this one's my favorite. Little handy fan. Kind of hard to get now. I got my poor little grandson. He threw mine one time and the fan little thing broke, but still worked. And then I just ended up because I got sick of hearing the clackety noise and got a new one. But yes, get some cooling stuff to keep yourself cool in that line, getting on the ship, at the ports, and even when you get to the port. Those are great to have in your beach bags or just walking around in general. One of the other things is the balcony. Now, this is something that people don't really talk about. A balcony is great. It's absolutely great. I always love to have a balcony because I like to have that view, that big view, not just the window view, which is nice, but I like to have that big view. And the balconies tend to be up higher, so I can still get a little bit higher and have that big view. The only thing is in the summer, especially if you're going to Mexico or most of the Caribbean, it's hot out there. It's hot and windy. So it's like a giant wind. It's like a burning wind coming at you. For some people, maybe that's great, but I don't like it. I don't like feeling like I'm in a hot wind tunnel. Occasionally, I'll go out when it's cooler on sea days and stuff like that, and I'm in the shade. It's not too bad. I'll go out there, and that's great. But otherwise, I hardly ever go on my balcony on my summer cruises. I typically only go on my balcony when I'm on a fall cruise because the temperature is just a little bit cooler. It's not 90-degree wind blowing at me. It's usually about 70, 80 degree. But it's I go or in the early spring, not like in May. Even in May, it starts to get really, really hot. So you might want if you're considering getting a balcony and you think you're going to spend a lot of time out there, just keep that in mind because when the ship's moving, it's very, very windy. And sometimes there's not a lot of wind when you're sitting at port. Sometimes there is, and most of the time there is not. Because if it's too windy, they can't even get up to the port, anyways. Now, one of the biggest packing mistakes that I make in the summertime when I travel is actually not packing a second swimsuit. Now, you're probably thinking, "Oh, well, why are you only packing one swimsuit anyways?" Well, most of the time in the winter and stuff like that, I'm not really going swimming at I'm usually going off and looking at the culture and stuff like that, but sometimes I do go to the beach, and I like to have a beach swimsuit that can feel the rough can get all sandy, and I don't mind get all sandy, you don't have to worry about getting sand in there. Or even because the seawater tends to be really hard on swimsuits, I've noticed, especially when you're sitting down, start to pill. I think they do a salt water type of treatment, pool treatment thing versus chlorine because it's just not good for the environment. And since they dump it back into the ocean thing when they recycle, it's better, I think, to have two or even three swimsuits because you're going to be swimming a lot. And a lot of times the suits don't dry before the end of the day. One of the strategies I really, really like to use when I do bring my swimsuits is I'll hang one of my swimsuits out in my room close to where the vent is, the air conditioning vent is. I'll hang it there or I'll put it close to the window. If you're in an interior, then just put it near the vent. Unless it's dripping down, I do not put it in the bath. And the reason for that is that it doesn't dry. So usually if it is dripping, I wring it out until it stops dripping and hang it in until it stops dripping. I'll hang it into the bathroom. And then once I'm done, once it stops dripping, then I'll bring it in and I'll do those little magnetic hooks to the ceiling. And I will go ahead and hang that them from the magnetic hooks there. And every time my clothes are dry by the next day. So, yes. Yes, that's definitely I got one of those tips from one of these other YouTubers that was on one of these 3-month-long world cruises or whatever, and I was, "Oh my god, that's just so brilliant," and I tried it. Works every time. I'm so thankful. I wish I could remember what their names were, but one of the things I wish someone would have told me about my Caribbean cruises. One of the things I wish they would have told me mostly is that it's going to still be hot on the ship. And because you think you're out at sea, it's going to be cool. The cool air is going to be blowing on you. And most of the year, yeah, sure. But most in the summertime, no. No, it's hot up on that deck during sea days in Lido. When I go just to go to the lunch and I'm passing through the Lido and I see the little contest of the music loud and everybody's suntanning out there, I feel like I can just see the heat waves coming off of the thing. It's just so hot. And they have wind barriers. So there's really not wind coming down. And the wind that's coming down is just really hot. And it's kind of like when you're on that balcony. So I end up just staying in the ship. Plus, it's so bright. Of course, the captain's looking for the best weather. So it's so bright. I just wish I would have known that beforehand. This is kind of like a Debbie Downer, but for the most part, I love going during the summertime just because a lot of times there's a lot of activities going on. There's special events usually going on. And it's a great time to go with family. And when I have my family, that's usually when I go, is we all go during the summertime. So I definitely say still go during the summertime. However, if you're looking for a little bit more peace, relaxation, then you're just going to want to pull it. You might want to just go ahead and schedule it toward the more reasonable time, like on the off season kind of thing, where it's a little bit those shoulders before the holidays. So if any of these tips were helpful for you or any of this information was helpful for you, please continue to subscribe, follow, hit the bell so you get notifications every time I post. And again, my name is Jen from Desert Sunset Travel. And if you have any questions, please leave your comments below or your questions below, and I will answer them. I do read every comment that comes in.